Hi everyone and welcome to Full Tower TV. My name is Rafael and today we're gonna take a look at the Fractal Design North. It's one of the most popular cases right now in the market, so I decided to do a video kind of to give you an overview about the case, on the different variations it comes with, and some specifications and maybe interesting features. The point of this video is to help you decide if this case is worth your money. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So one of the reasons why this case is very popular is because of its design. Fractal did something very unique here with the wood design in the front. This case comes in two different colors. You have the white color and you have also the black color. Now each color have two different variations where you could choose to have the case with a tempered glass side panel, or the side panel could be mesh and not made out of glass. Something to pay attention here is that the tempered glass version in the black color is tinted, so it's a little bit more darker than the white one. The white one is much more clear, so you could see the components inside better. If we will look at some of the pictures here, we could see that it's actual wood in the front. Now it does look very beautiful, but it does raise the question if this wood won't get degraded with time. In one of the pictures here we can see that you can completely disassemble the case. The front, the sides and the top is also all removable, so you can easily install your components. Looking at the back, you have two spots for 2.5-inch SSDs. The cable management grommets are on the side, which is really nice. I like the look of it. It looks very neat and clean. Something we didn't talk about, it's the size of the case. So it's a mid-tower case and you can put any motherboard here up to a normal size ATX. The fit at the bottom have this like metal finish over here, which looks very nice. It looks like there's also a lot of space in the bottom, so it can have good intake for the power supply. But I really liked the mesh design they also did at the back. It looks very nice, and you also have the removable power supply kind of bracket, so it's easier to install a power supply inside instead of like shoving it from the side. So it's also a nice touch. Now one thing to consider in terms of like the color, if you want to choose between the white and the black one, at the top of the case you could see that if you choose the white version, the hardware or like the buttons are in silver. But if you go for the black version instead, you get this kind of like black and gold theme going here, and I think it looks very nice. I actually like the black version more than the white one. I'm also not a very big fan of like white cases. I think they can get scratched and get dirty very fast, but if white is your thing, then go for it. Other than that, let's look at some features. So Fractal are really aiming to give this case a design, very special design that can fit your workspace. They do have a Type-C connection in the front. Something to pay attention that this Type-C connection will work only if you have a special Type-C connection in the motherboard, because it have like a special cable that you will need to connect to your motherboard in order for it to work. It usually looks something a lot like this. I will put a picture here. Make sure that the motherboard you have or you buy have this connection, because without it the Type-C connection just won't work. So over here we can see a picture with the side panel open. As you can see, the case is not that big, but it's also not very small, so you won't have any problem installing like water cooling radiators or a long GPU, which is also good. And like we said before, you can put up to 80 like full-size ATX motherboard inside, so it's also a good thing. They have this like little latch, I guess, in the top of the the panel, so you can easily remove it. Over at the bottom you have two removable hard drive cages for 3.5-inch normal hard drive storage. It is a bit concerning to see that it's very close to the power supply and the power supply cables could get stuck in it, but to be honest, I don't think a lot of people use hard drives these days anyway. And if you really need additional storage, you can use like SSD to put them over here. You should also have plenty of M.2 storage in your motherboards these days, so I wouldn't be worried too much about that, but something to consider if you do have hard drives that you want to put in this case. Make sure you don't get a big power supply, because you're gonna have some clearance issues over here. Now, if you buy the mesh version, and this is something to consider because it only comes with the mesh version, you'll have like this kind of additional bracket that they give you. You can install two fans in order to give more fresh air to inside of the case. One thing to consider, and I think they also specify this in the specification tab, if you buy the mesh version and you put this bracket with fans, you will have clearance issues with the CPU cooler if you decide to go with like a normal air cooler and not a water cooler. I'll show you that in a moment in the specifications. So let's look at some specifications. Like we said before, you can put up to 2.5-inch SSD drives. You can also put additional two 3.5-inch drives, like we said before, next to the power supply. In the front we have the Type-C connection. We have two USB 3.0 and audio and microphone jack. Now, in terms of fans compatibility, in the front you can put up to 3 120mm fans or two 140mm fans. Now, something to consider that this case comes with two 140mm PWM fans, which are 4-pin connectors right to your motherboard. It will actually detect your temperature and will increase or decrease the fan speed accordingly to the temperature inside of the computer. In the top you can put up to two 120mm fan or 140mm fans. In the rear you can put one 120mm fan. You have dust filters in the front and also under the where you put the power supply. So the max length of the GPU is 355mm or 335 centimeters. Over here you can see the thing I talked about with the 3.5-inch hard drive cages. If you decide to remove them, you'll have much more space to put like a bigger power supply, but if you lift them, then that space get reduced almost by half. So really pay attention to that. And over here we can also see the thing that I talked about with the bracket that comes in the mesh version. If you put that bracket with two fans, then the max height of the CPU cooler is 14.5 centimeters instead of 17 centimeters. So if you go for the mesh version and you want to use those fans with the bracket, consider to go with a water cooling solution instead of air cooler solution for your CPU, because I don't know a lot of air cooler CPUs that are less than 15 centimeters these days. They're pretty big. Especially if you buy a case like that, I would assume that you will have like a pretty strong CPU that will need good cooling. If you want to go with the air cooler, consider taking the tempered glass one and not the mesh version. In the front you can put up to 360mm radiator. One thing that is very nice also with this case, if you go like with the tempered glass one, the tempered glass doesn't cover all of the side panel, so the side that more closer to the front, if you're gonna put a radiator over there, it will be hidden. So I think it's also a nice touch that they really try to pay attention to the design and make it as slick as possible and make it look very elegant and very nice. At the top you can put up to 240mm radiator. Now, because it's not a very big case, I would be careful with that and make sure that you'll take a radiator that is not too thick. You know, if you go for like a freezer 240 or something like that, their radiators can be very thick and it can interfere with their RAM modules. So try to go for something more thin so you don't have clearance issues. And if you decide to go with a 120mm radiator, they also mention here that the mesh version can be slotted into the bottom position only. So apparently you have two spots where you can put that bracket, and yeah, you can also have clearance issues with that, so also to something to pay attention to. In terms of the dimensions, so the case is 44 centimeters in length, 46 centimeters, almost 47 centimeters in height, and 21 centimeters in width. So yeah, it's not big, but it's also not small. Again, Fractal really tried to go with like an elegant design that will fit almost any space. But I do think that this case is more aimed to be on a desk, like on top of a desk, or not under it or something like that, because you also have the USB ports and like the power button and everything at the top of the case. So if you put this case under the desk, it can like be uncomfortable to plug USBs or USB devices or like headphones and stuff like that. Also something to pay attention to. Other than that, I think the case looks great. The build quality also looks great. I really liked the colors, especially the black one with the gold hardware. With the wood, it's like it looks fantastic. And from what I saw on Amazon, at least, the black version is also not available, and in Amazon at least it's also more expensive. But from what I saw on Newegg, for example, it was way cheaper, and from what I saw on their website, it also available for purchase, not like on Amazon. So yeah, try to, if you really like the black color as I do, try to find a store that have it available. This case is relatively new. It came in the end of last year, and like I said, it's getting very popular right now. The design is very unique, and also the thing that they did with the bracket, if you go for the mesh version, that you can install two fans at the side of the case. Yeah, it's also something very unique. You don't see that a lot these days, and I can understand why this case is very popular. Other than that, in terms of price, I think it's reasonably priced. Like from Newegg, $140 for a case like that really delivers on aesthetics and on looks, and it's very unique. If you really try to aim for like a clean setup with those lines, like with the wood lines, it's absolutely beautiful. With that said, I am a bit concerned about the fact it's wood. I don't know if they like coat it with something. I guess they should coat it with like something to protect it, so it don't get degraded with time. And I also think that you need to consider to put the case in a place that doesn't have a lot of moisture or like humidity or stuff like that, because if the wood gets degraded, then this case becomes very quickly from a beautiful case to something that is not so beautiful. But that's it, I think, pretty much. I hope maybe I can get my hands on a case like that, so I can actually physically review it on the channel, and not only like that from their website. Until next time, thank you for watching Full Tower TV. I'll see you in the next video.